Just in case you haven't noticed, World of Warcraft Classic is absolutely tearing it up on Twitch right now, with everyone and their mom streaming the game on the platform. In fact, the game is pulling over 1 million views on Twitch, which is absolutely ridiculous. How do you like that, Fortnite? Of course, when trying to understand why World of Warcraft Classic is so popular right now, the first thing that comes to mind is nostalgia. You know, the feeling where you long for the past. Yeah, Blizzard is definitely capitalizing on that, but another reason why the game is completely breaking Twitch has to do with the gaming landscape as a whole. And you guessed it, Fortnite. So without further ado, let's get into why World of Warcraft Classic is the king of Twitch right now. If you call yourself a gamer, and we're sure you do if you're watching this video, then you're definitely familiar with World of Warcraft. It's arguably the most well-known massively multiplayer online role-playing game of all time. So that's a heck of a mouthful, so we'll just refer to the whole thing as an MMORPG moving forward, or better yet, an MMO. Anyway, pretty much everybody has played the game at some point or another, even if it was just for 5 minutes. But let's be honest, World of Warcraft wasn't a game you could just play for 5 minutes. Like most MMOs, it was insanely addictive. But as some of us became adults, we learned to get over our past demons and move on from the game. Well, until now. World of Warcraft was all the rage back in 2006, and now, 13 years later, Blizzard decided to take us back to the good old days when rock music was still a thing with World of Warcraft Classic that was just released. WoW Classic is a server option for the original game, meaning it runs alongside the main game and isn't its own thing. At this point, it's kinda like its own game mode. The main difference between WoW and WoW Classic is that the Classic version is, well, classic. It's set before the release of the first expansion, The Burning Crusade, putting us way back in 2006, but with much more powerful computers, meaning the game runs like butter. It is ridiculously smooth. You see, sometimes going back to the vanilla version of a game isn't a bad thing. Things could get crazy complicated over the years as new races, abilities, quests, and expansions start to increase. This always ends up with players longing for the good old days when men were men, or when gamers were gamers in this case. We're sure Asmongold isn't alone in feeling like this. In fact, this whole classic thing is something we've seen other games do as well. Just take a look at RuneScape, for example. Say what you want about the game, but it was free to play, with the option to open up the full game through a paid membership. And it was most likely the first MMORPG you played. So when talking about nostalgia, it's almost impossible not to mention RuneScape. The Classic Mode server has been around for 17 years. Although it wasn't called Classic Mode in the early days, the Classic Mode server later became only available to members before eventually getting shut down in 2018. Now, the only way to play RuneScape Classic is by downloading the old-school RuneScape game on your computer or phone, so even though its name is a bit different now, it's still a thing. This is why when Blizzard announced World of Warcraft Classic at BlizzCon 2017, it didn't really catch too many people by surprise. It made sense to try something new to bring people back to your MMORPG since the game was on the decline. And it's safe to say it worked out for them. As we mentioned earlier, WoW Classic got over 1 million views on Twitch after its first day of release, which is an absolutely incredible achievement. But here at CBR, we want to know the how and the why. While the nostalgia factor isn't the only reason that could be used to explain how WoW Classic broke Twitch, we're going to be honest with you here. It's definitely the main reason why. Just think about it for a second and put yourself in the shoes of a former WoW player. If you loved that game, but it got away from you, and now that game you love is back, waiting for you to play it, wouldn't you want to play it? Of course you would, because you'd love to take a trip down memory lane and have all those memories come flooding back to you like a tidal wave. It's an incredible feeling, to say the least. And we saw so many former WoW players stop streaming the game they're known for and hopping onto WoW Classic, and who could blame them? It takes them back to their younger days and reminds them of a time when things were more simple. This is exactly where nostalgia gets you, and it's something that Blizzard knew they would be capitalizing on. It's just a smart thing to do because look around you. Everything nowadays is trying to capitalize on that nostalgia factor. All of this means that nostalgia is a huge reason as to why these reboots, remasters, and classic versions are all successful. All this wouldn't be happening across different media if it didn't work. But in terms of WoW Classic, there's much more at play here than just the nostalgia factor. When talking about the most popular games in the world, you have to mention Fortnite. You just have to. Whether you love the game or you hate it, it's the most popular game in the world. Everywhere you go, there's Fortnite merch, kids talking about Fortnite, and you can bet that the game is downloaded on almost every single console out there, including your smart fridge, if that's even considered a console. We don't have the stats to prove it, but we wholeheartedly believe it. Anyway, with a free game as popular as Fortnite hogging Twitch from all the other games, that means it's harder for other games to steal the spotlight from it. Since Fortnite was released, the only game that really had a chance to take them down was Apex Legends. In fact, many people thought the game was going to be a Fortnite killer, but after a few months, the popularity of that game died down. And Fortnite continued to be the king of Twitch. And now, next up to try and usurp Fortnite from the throne is the WoW Classic Rebellion, and we think they've got a pretty good shot. You see, it may come as a shock to you, but Fortnite is declining. Okay, it's actually been declining for a while, but as of right now, the game is in the worst state it's ever been at in terms of interest. According to Google Trends, in mid to late August, interest in Fortnite reached an all-time low since its release, which doesn't bode well for the game, especially when you consider all the drama that's happening in the competitive scene right now. We're seeing pros quit the game left, right, and center due to a lack of balance in the game, and even casual players aren't happy with the state of the game in Season 10. Now, we're not saying the game's bad by any means. It's still very fun and a great experience overall, but Fortnite has definitely seen better days. We wouldn't say it's over the hill yet, but it's getting there, and competitive players are starting to take notice. We're seeing a lot of rage quitting in Fortnite tournaments lately, and they mostly have to do with those brutes that everyone's complaining about. We tried not complaining about them in some of our videos, but we think a complaint or two might have slipped out. That's how annoying those mechs are. Tfue and a bunch of other Fortnite pros left the recent Twitch Rivals Fortnite tournament early, saying that the game isn't quite ready for the esports scene yet because it's just not balanced. In fact, the game is so unbalanced for the pros that Daquan literally quit the game because it was making him unhappy from the second he got up to the second he went to bed, which isn't good for anybody. Even Courage rage quit the Twitch Rivals Fortnite showdown after being targeted by a brute. Heck, some pros are just leaving Twitch altogether, like Ninja, the biggest streamer out there, who's going to make the move to Microsoft's platform Mixer. Now, he was probably paid a literal boatload of cash to make that switch, but still, the Fortnite on Twitch landscape is being shaken up. With all this Fortnite drama going on, the timing of the release of WoW Classic couldn't have been any more perfect, which is why it's the king of the streaming platform right now. Just in case things weren't already crazy enough, Fortnite players like Tim the Tatman are jumping ship and streaming WoW Classic on Twitch, giving the game even more exposure and showing us that streamers don't have any loyalty to specific games. Streamers will play what they want when they want, and there's nothing wrong with that. Also, jumping on the most popular game right now is always good for views and bringing traffic to their channel, so these streamers know exactly what they're doing. It's not like they're completely done with Fortnite either, it's just that they're switching things up a bit until the popularity of WoW Classic dies down. Well, if it ever does. Sure, we may be overselling Fortnite and underselling the nostalgia factor, but we believe that these are the two main reasons why everyone's going crazy over WoW Classic on Twitch right now. It makes sense for Blizzard to go all in with WoW Classic, there's no denying that. Just like Fortnite, World of Warcraft is declining, and players who've been playing the game since 2004 aren't getting any younger. They might have a family now, so it makes sense for Blizzard to go retro ahead of WoW's 15th anniversary. That being said, it's not all sunshine and rainbows when it comes to WoW Classic. The game's been dealing with some issues since release, like getting into servers, but a lot of it most likely has to do with the server rush since it's still a fairly new game. That'll resolve itself as the player base settles down a bit over time. The game also has a steep learning curve and is far from easy, which can turn off some new players. But do we think it has staying power on Twitch? Absolutely we do. Earlier, we mentioned Respawn's Apex Legends and how it gave Fortnite a run for its money, but in the end, it lost the battle for Twitch supremacy. Nowadays, a lot of gamers are calling it a dead game, which isn't quite right since there are still thousands and thousands of dedicated players enjoying Season 2, including us. Now, there's a chance that WoW Classic could end up like Apex Legends and have a quick and large decline in popularity. But we don't think that's the case, because comparing the two games are like comparing apples and oranges. Their situations couldn't be more different. One's an MMORPG, and the other's a battle royale. One's a classic version of the main game, the other's just a spin-off. But the biggest differences between the two comes in the player base. WoW already had millions of players. The Titanfall series was pretty popular before Apex Legends, and its player count received a significant bump because of the spin-off Battle Royale game. So imagine what's going to happen to WoW, a game that's been around longer with an even bigger player base. Yeah, that's why we don't think WoW Classic is going anywhere anytime soon. World of Warcraft Classic might not remain the king of Twitch, but it definitely has the potential to remain a major player in the streaming scene. We think the main reason why World of Warcraft is breaking Twitch is because of the nostalgia factor, but what do you think's the real reason for all this? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more awesome videos. Thanks for watching.